So most of you already know each other then, most of you already work for the same organization. That's great, you have a sense of familiarity. So Brian has just asked me to talk about an introduction to worker cooperatives. Who here has ever worked for a worker cooperative? Which one was it?
Missing link.
Missing link, okay. And you?
Cafe.
Cafe, what cafe, what state?
Lion Street Cafe.
Ah, okay. Is there someone else?
Bright Bush Hot Springs, and the Butterfly Cooperative.
What's the second one?
The Butterfly Collective in Holland.
Oh, what did they do?
Produce organic food.
Okay, cool. And who here is a member of a cooperative that's not a worker cooperative? Yeah, like what are you a member of? REI, yes. Yeah, there's 40% of Americans are members of cooperatives. A lot of them don't know it. A lot of them are consumer cooperatives. What's that?
Yeah, okay.
Your bank, if you're a member of a credit union, is part of a cooperative. There's all sorts of different kinds of cooperatives. Some of them are aggregates of producers, some of them are aggregates of consumers, some of them are aggregates of housing cooperatives sort of form, some of them are aggregates of bank users. And just to go to like what a cooperative is, these are some basic terms that people use. A cooperative is people acting together to meet their common needs. So it could be people who need banking services. It could be a group of people who want organic food, but it's not sold at the stores. Another common definition people use is one member, one vote, and that's the California legal definition of what a cooperative is. If your organization doesn't have that principle, you can't legally call yourself a cooperative in the state of California. Another commonly used definition is member-owned and member-controlled. And you should note that those things are not the same thing. There are a lot of organizations that can be owned by their members, but they're controlled by somebody else. Like United Airlines, for instance, became a worker-owned company, but they pretty much had no say in how the operation of the company worked. And then the last definition is maximizing the well-being of members. This is a goal of cooperatives. So where a typical corporation might be trying to maximize the profit, you're trying to maximize the well-being to the members. Now that could mean money. It could be that well-being is like you want to maximize the amount of money that you get, but a lot of cooperatives maximize money and maximize other spiritual benefits or whatever you might be pursuing. There are 200 plus worker cooperatives in the United States. A lot of them are in the Bay Area. A lot of them are around Boston and Western Massachusetts. There's a lot up in the West Coast. There, as far as I know, are none in Oklahoma. But there are. Maybe there is. Was there?
You're talking about worker-owned.
Yeah, going back just to worker-owned cooperatives. Yeah. There are probably agricultural cooperatives in every state. There are probably grocery cooperatives in every state. So, and if you go zoom in on the Bay Area, we have in this area the highest density of worker cooperatives in any part of the state. You have between 30 to 50, depending on the year and how things are coming up and going down. But we have a lot. Just to get a sense of whether you guys are familiar with these, give a whoop if you have been to the Cheese Border Arizmendi. You lady. Unionized and worker cooperative strip club in the United States. Rainbow Grocery. Okay, so you guys are familiar with that. These are really some very familiar cooperatives, and they are all basically retail cooperatives, which is not what I imagined that your company would be. But there are many advantages. Most of the cooperatives in the Bay Area are retail cooperatives. And there's some reason for that. The first is that it doesn't take very much money to start like a bike club. You just need an open space, you need some tools. You don't need a lot of heavy machinery, you need a little bit of machinery. Bakery is slightly more capital intensive, but a lot of the cooperatives basically had the interest and enthusiasm of their workers and not a lot of money, and so they became retail cooperatives. Another advantage is that cooperatives tend to give the owners a lot of dignity. And often that dignity is really visible on the workers. A lot of people come into Arizmendi, where I worked for many years, and they say, everyone seems so happy here, everyone seems so comfortable. And that made them want to come back. So if you've got a business that has a lot of worker and public interaction, that dignity can be a business advantage, because people like that. They want to shop in an environment. Another side effect of cooperatives is that people tend to stay a really long time. And that kind of long-term employment builds customer relationships relationships and community relationships and neighborhood loyalty, and that can be an advantage. And then there are a lot of also retail worker cooperatives that basically started as buying clubs because they couldn't have access to the things that they wanted. The organic foods market is kind of a huge example of this, that most of the organic food stores in the 70s were cooperative buying markets. They established the market so that it became mainstream, and now Whole Foods and others are coming in. But there's other food special spikes and other things that people can't get unless they group together and sell it themselves. So, cooperatives are not only in retail. These are a couple of design build firms that might be closer to what you would be doing with design installation. This is Builders Commonwealth, like a 30-person design build firm out in Minnesota. Here's South Mountain Company. It's on Martha's Vineyard in Massachusetts, and they also do large houses, beautiful arched ceiling houses. I think there are about 25 members in that one. And then I don't have a picture of the workers here, but Big Timber Works is about a 40-person worker cooperative out in Montana, and they do similar stuff. And one of the advantages of the niche of design and build is that for cooperatives is that there's a lot of artisan craft that goes into it. And the economists feel that it's very hard to supervise artisan craft. It becomes extremely expensive for supervisors to go and check the arc of these old recycled timber beams and so on. So that expense actually makes it an economic advantage for the workers to supervise themselves. And so there are actually quite a lot of artisan building cooperatives in the United States as well. So there's that. Are there any questions so far about this stuff? You want to talk about any of this? Yeah, do you have anything?
I was just curious. There were examples of like really high capital cooperatives.
Sure.
Can you repeat the questions, just because we're trying to record this, so
Yeah.
if everyone could speak clearly and as easily as possible.
The question was, were there examples of very high capital cooperatives? And so there are not that many, but there are a few. And the problem, of course, is that if workers come together with their own money, they may not have a lot of money. And then also banks are sometimes skeptical of the cooperative loans, might be less willing to lend. But some of the bigger ones are Alvarado Street Bakery, which is up in Cordondera somewhere. It's a very, it's a large production bakery. There is Chroma Technology, which is in Vermont, and I think they produce lenses for magnifying glasses, or for microscopes, something like that. And then there's a company called Itzmas Engineering in Madison, Wisconsin, and they do robotics. They do the design build firm of custom required robotics. Those are probably the three there. Yeah.
Of all those examples, are any of them companies that transitioned from private membership to worker collectives?
I'm not sure the history of them. I think that Itzmas may have started as a sole proprietorship, but the enlightened owner decided he didn't want to be an owner anymore, and so he sold to the workers around him. But I don't think any of them bought out from an owner that was not going to become part of the cooperative.
What about Mondragon?
Mondragon is a very large manufacturing cooperative complex in Spain, and it is a story beyond the scope of this presentation. But it is the largest worker cooperative complex in the world. Hundreds of thousands of workers democratically running a network of factories and grocery stores and other things. So Mondragon, if you look it up on the internet, there's lots of information about them. So